we realized we had made one critical error that could have potentially derailed our entire trip and thrown everything off trail.
What it do?
Bikepacking. What is it? It's basically if you took the road trip and backpacking, smushed them together, right? And did that on a bike. So you're carrying all the supplies and all your luggage, all your essentials with you, but you're also traveling quite a bit of distance and self-propelled. In this case, we're taking a bike, thus bikepacking, right? And on our journey, we started from Boston, Massachusetts, heading down to Provincetown. That's like the very little tip edge for those of you who don't live in the state. Journeys like this exist, and for anyone who is aspiring to maybe ride from Canada to Mexico or ride coast to coast across the US or wherever you might live, riding across your state or your province is a good way to get started in that adventure and see what you actually need, what the experience is like, and if you are in fact built for that kind of journey.
Woohoo!
All right, my man, tell us, what are you packing? What did you bring for this multi-day trip?
Well, this is the second day of the trip, so I have an extra pair of kit. But people like Remy, they are definitely more adventurous and can get away with one. And if you can get away with one, or if you're camping and you're going to be grungy anyways, then go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. And I have the big backpacks because I'm supplying a lot of extra support, which we did need yesterday. That was a very, very hot day, but it's a lot lighter, so it won't because this is the last day of the trip, and it's gonna be we don't need as much stuff. So we got food, we got laundry, and that's the boring stuff. But yeah, some toiletries, same thing as you would pack for any other day-long trip.
Day one was also an amazing bonding experience. By the time we got to the hotel and unpacked and, got cleaned up and everything, we just had such an amazing time out on the bike and spending time getting some food and just laughing and chilling. And that's the part of the road trip, right? Like, you want to have those experiences with your pals. That said, I had to get to work almost immediately because, unlike the others, I was just packing one set of cycling gear, which means I needed to wash it right away so I can dry it right away so it would hopefully be ready for the next day. I jumped in the shower fully clothed and, soaped up, then took everything off, started hand washing, and then wrung it out best I could. A second wash, a third wash, and after wringing everything out best I could with my hands, I rolled it all up like a burrito and then stepped it out in a towel to get all that moisture out, and then used another towel to roll it. After about 5 minutes of that, it was pretty dry, hung it over a chair, and hoped for the best. I also mentioned that one of our friends was packing quite a bit on her bike. Tell us what you're packing and why for this trip.
Heat.
Heat always, but a 10-liter saddle bag, fits stuff for 2 days, change of clothes, a set of pajamas, some toiletries, flip-flops, a bikini, I gotta jump in the pool, handlebar bag with like my daily essentials, and then a little frame bag on the bike that has the emergency kit stuff and some snacks. That's all.
The one issue that I had as far as what I was packing, I only had space for my cycling shoes and no change of shoes, which then meant I had to walk around the hotel barefoot, walk to the restaurant barefoot. I did bring my cycling shoes just in case there was a strict no shoes, no shirt, no service policy. It wasn't the most comfortable, no, but I'll tell you what, I was mega comfortable on my bike, and that's the experience I was looking to have. Y'all let me know, would you prefer a more comfortable lodging and sleeping experience, or having the actual travel experience be comfortable. For me, I knew I was going to spend majority of the time on the bike, so that's what I valued, but everybody's different. Let me know in the comments what you would choose. So we set off for day 2, and also thinking we're going to hug the coastline and take in all these views, and oh wait, first we're riding through basically a construction zone, and so many places that got closed down, presumably between the pandemic and the economic downturn. So many storefronts were just blocked off, and nothing else has taken their place, so it wasn't as scenic in spots, but we did start to get out of that town, and that's where we realized we had made one critical error that could have potentially derailed our entire trip and thrown everything off trail. We planned a route, we planned a good route, but we didn't look at every single turn, every single intersection, and every little, terrain that we were gonna be on. We take a turn, and here is just this like sandy path that's, 2.5, maybe 3 miles long that we'd have to be on it. Plus, oh, by the way, this giant mud puddle in front of us and like a bulldozer parked along the way. It's like, yeah, no, I don't think this is going to be the road for us. So we decided to detour. We deliberated amongst ourselves and find an alternate path to see what would happen if we just cut that section out and pick that path up, 6 miles down the road. All right, let's give it a go. And thankfully, we were able to get back on. That path was lovely, and so many folks were out. Turns out it was like a roller blading festival or of some sorts. All sorts of people were out, other cyclists were out, and we're having a great time, taking it real easy, because on a path like this, you're not gonna open it up and just start to blast. At the same time, some of our riders were a little tired, and the between the heat, the elevation, and the cumulative weight that they were carrying starts to wear on you. So we pulled things back a little bit, but also in the back of our minds, listen, we've got a 5 o'clock boat that we've got to catch back to the city, or we're riding. We do not have a hotel reservation at our destination. The plan was to take the boat from Provincetown back to Boston.
How do you like the experience of multi-day bike trips as a whole?
I think it's a love-hate relationship. Day 1 is always the hardest, in my opinion, because you're just getting your body kind of primed for riding the amount of distance, right? On your left, thank you.
On your left.
But once you hit day 3, for me is a sweet spot. Day 3 feels great because your body is used to it, your muscles remember.
Yeah.
And it's a great time.
You've done enough of the suffering, and then it's just chilling. And
even if you suffer, you know what to expect, so you know how to kind of prepare for that suffering a little better.
Block it out, right? Like, because at that point, you've already, put in so much time in the saddle.
Yeah, I wouldn't say block it out, but embrace the pain or like the suffering, whatever you call it,
Well, and it helps to like keep in mind the destination, the journey. We've had some unexpected things happen on this ride too.
Oh yeah.
Not an adventure if it's just follow the route, you get there, zip up.
I mean, you need to have a route, but it's not so much of the just riding your bike. It's like the whole experience, right?
Yeah.
The fuck ups, the jokes, the silly things that happen, getting to know people's like true personality, I guess what you call it,
Yeah, you peel back some layers after, the first 2 hours, then you get raw.
I mean, with you, it's not that I don't know you already, but like, it just further solidifies that, okay, this is my homie, like that. But yeah,
that's what's up.
Bikepacking, multi-day rides are, it's a new-ish thing for me. I mean, I'm no stranger to long distance rides, but multi-day rides kind of fairly new. I think I like it.
Now, no ride is complete without a cafe stop, and that goes doubly for this sort of epic, right? Like, I couldn't not make a stop and get a flaky pastry along the way. So on one of our refuel stops, got some water, got some coffee, and absolutely got a chocolate croissant. gave me life, refueled, ready to keep on moving. And eventually the path ended and we got off onto the next part of our trip, which turned out to be more unpaved. And at first, it looked all right. You know, this wasn't what we were expecting. It was definitely not as bad as the soft sand that we saw. We're here on road bikes that aren't necessarily designed for that, but at the same time, we've all been mountain biking too, and that experience kind of translates as far as bike handling.
You like skills, like Remy said, paying off.
Yeah, mountain bike skills totally paying off.
I will say I'm a little bit less terrified than I would be had I not mountain biked.
Hell yeah. And it's just like that. Look at that. Unpaved road.
Still terrified, but just a little bit.
It's fine.
And it went on like that for, gosh, I couldn't even tell you how many miles, but it was definitely something. And there were some deeper patches of sand. We did have one wipeout. She was okay. But nobody likes to fall. Nobody likes to get dirty and sandy, right? So that wasn't great. And eventually enough was enough. And we had to reroute once more and just take the major freeway, Route 6. If you're familiar with the trip to and Cape Cod and beyond, will take you to the end of the state. So we just hopped on and rode that the rest of the way. And I'm so glad we did, because then it turned into more of what we were expecting. All the climbing was behind us and really just cruising towards the coastline. By the time we arrived, this is Provincetown, y'all. It's always a party, and every month is Pride Month. So it is hopping and all sorts of things are going on, and you know, lots to see, lots to do. But first things first, we gotta get something to eat. We gotta get something to drink. But boy, I'd say 10 out of 10, absolutely worth it. But don't just take it from me as a guy who obviously loves to ride his bike. Let's hear from Blair, her very first time taking a trip even close to this.
Blair,
Yes.
prior to this, what was your longest ride?
Well, okay, it was actually 60 miles, but it was a very casual ride. We were probably doing 9-10 miles an hour, and that was just to a brewery and back. So it was very casual. But for a more like serious ride, I would probably say 50 miles.
Okay, so jumping from that to this multi-day adventure.
Yeah. It was a lot.
It was a lot, but I mean, you're on the other side of it. So
Yes.
what was the experience? Did you put any thought or effort into the training, or was it just like, let me pick up and go for an adventure?
I wanted to train more, but I think I didn't manage my time well with marathon training.
Mm-hmm.
Since I'm running the Chicago Marathon in October, so training has started for that. This is my first sanctioned marathon, so it felt like a really big deal to me. On top of that, my life had a lot of big transitions recently, so I wasn't on the bike as much as I would have liked, and I definitely felt that while I was riding. Like, oh man, I do wish I had put more miles in before this trip, but overall went well.
Despite that,
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like you were having a pretty good time. Is
Yeah.
that accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say as a net positive. There were some moments where I got to a very dark place, had to push through. The friends were helpful. Yeah,
And you also had a mechanical error
I sure did.
that like could have easily tanked your spirits. How did you overcome that?
Well, I think one, it helped that I didn't really know what was going on. Like, I had no idea how bad it was. So I was just like, why did I not? I'm sure it's fine. And then the other thing that helped was that there was a bike shop 3 miles away. So that made a huge difference where I didn't have to bike back like 15 miles or something. So mentally it felt like, okay, I can do this. We can get to the bike shop, we'll get it fixed, and then we'll move forward. I was really proud of myself. I think I wish I had known earlier how to pedal correctly, because I think a lot of the pain that I felt today was because I didn't know what I was doing yesterday. And I think after being coached on how to pedal correctly, I was like, oh, this is so much easier. Like, it wasn't easy, but it was a lot easier than what I was doing.
You were more efficient.
Yeah.
And as far as the things that you packed, what you had with you, what you chose to not bring with you? Do you feel like
I feel pretty content with what I brought. I think brought enough food, and then I'm glad I brought my shoes and this layer. Glad I brought an extra shirt. I think I did a pretty good job with packing.
If you had to do it all over again, what is one aspect of this experience that you would change?
If I had to do it all over again, I think I would train more beforehand. I would just be more comfortable on the bike. And then I would do more hills. Everyone was saying this was flat, but like there were still some hilly parts. So I feel like I would have practiced on that to feel more confident going up hills and then practicing pedaling correctly.
So for anyone who's even thinking about taking an adventure like this or going for a long ride, what would you say to them as like an entry point? Where should they start? What should they focus on?
I think just being open to learning. I think one, they should do it and be excited about it. And then two, when they're on it, being open to learning. Because I feel like the biggest theme for me that I've learned is that you don't know what you don't know until you go on a really long ride and realize, oh, there are all these things that you didn't know you needed. And you didn't need them before because the rides were shorter. So you could get away with the things that you were doing before. But then on a long ride, it really forces you to learn all these things. So I would say dive in and then be excited about learning.
Right on. So glad you came along.
Thank you.
That was the trip in a nutshell. Did a few things go wrong? Yeah, they sure did. Did we have some unexpected route changes? Yep. Did we have some unexpected equipment failure? Absolutely. Did we burn through more supplies than we expected? Yeah, that happened too. Did we have a fantastic time? You bet. Highly, highly recommended. Whatever duration of trip that is suitable for you, I'd say give it a go, just to mix things up a little bit. And moving forward, I've always really been high on traveling to races and taking a racecation. I will swap one of these destination races for a destination ride, and it actually ended up to being about even if you figure some of these races, depending on how big and what the prestige level, the registration cost is going to be, $150, $200 if you're looking at a road race, right? If you're looking at triathlon, boy, you can get into 200, 300 easy. Marathon majors, 300, 400, Ironmans, 500 easy. And that's before your hotel, your travel, your food, and other amenities, right? Well, we were able to do this trip, splitting everything evenly, for $311 a piece. That ain't bad, and the experience, absolutely worth it. But hey, y'all let me know, is that a number that is feasible for you? And I went minimal, and there were just 4 of us. Now, that could very well balloon up to 4, 5, 6 once you get into multi-day, if you stay at a nicer hotel, if you don't want to pack at all and just buy things when you get there, which is always an option too. Or you can be on the other end and say, no, I'm gonna pack everything I need and try to not spend $1 unless I absolutely have to. There's a space for this too, and I'd like to explore that space and share that space with you. Let me know if you're down for one of these adventures. Till next time, it's been real.